4v3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. We're gonna deflect. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Managing to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all some go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Hello everybody and welcome back to some more of the CGL playoffs. Hope you're having a fantastic evening / afternoon wherever you might be within the world right now. But regardless of where you are here to enjoy the playoff action here for EU, and it should be quite an amazing one here today, as we've already had some incredible games happen throughout the week, and of course the weekend. It's going to be the exact same here. And of course, hey, y'all, Huntertain here, joined by 2 tryhard Ray. And Ray, got ourselves a good old matchup today between 2 orgs that we are very familiar with here in the CGL scape. We have Bliss Excelsior taking on EMC Mánagarmr. English, Mánagarmr. And hey, regardless, we are super familiar with these orgs, we're familiar with these teams in general, and it's always nice to see them both in the playoffs.
Yeah, EUGM, it was a 14 bracket, so this is upper semifinals. So winner here gets to move on to the winners finals next week. Feeling pretty good. Bliss Excelsior, EMC Mánagarmr, they're both very talented teams. And EMC, I believe they've struggled a little bit this season, but even in the few games I've casted, the one thing with them is they've always been able to take a map off a team. So I feel like if you're able to take a map off a team, you just gotta get that same energy from those maps and just put it together in a series, and I think you have a chance at pulling off an upset here.
Yeah, I think there's a very real chance of that being the case, and obviously once you're in playoff territory, I mean, everybody's reset to that 0-0 record. It is pretty much down to whatever ends up happening, obviously within the situation before us. But you said it there, it's a 14 brackets, double elimination, so even if one team loses here, they have that ability to fight back to make it happen. Obviously, you still have DYS budget approved and Zero Recall with their own match happening, and obviously we will go from there, but it should be extremely exciting because, hey, the amount of times where I've gone into a game where the highest and lowest seed face each other, it's like, oh yeah, this will be easy, and Ray, sometimes it just quite isn't.
As it's going to be extremely exciting, as the thing for playoffs too is the seeding mattered. You got to pick your opponent if you're the #1 overall seed, and then if you're the higher seed coming into the match, you get to pick the first map based on our hero pool. But before we dive a little bit more into this matchup, I'd like to just remind you guys about our schedule for today. This is our only EU game for today, but we have NA games later on tonight, as well as we will be having 2 diamond matches, which diamonds is one of our most competitive divisions. We got Death Blossom going up against EIG Hunters and Wawa Gaming going up against Cuddle Puddle.
Yeah, and Cuddle Puddle, Death Blossom, both were in that division last season, ended up doing really good things as well. So obviously no surprise to see them back in the playoffs. See if they can keep that success from last season going forward. But hey, it's a situation where you're gonna have to tune in and see later tonight. That'll be on, both of the CGL channels. You'll be able to watch them, enjoy them at the same time. And if you got 2 monitors, I mean, and you're a CGL fan, Ray, you are living in heaven right now.
Yeah, those diamond games are going to be, especially the Wawa Cuddle Puddle game. That one's exciting because Wawa's the 4 seed and Cuddle Puddle was the 5 seed. So Wawa got left over with Cuddle, and Cuddle, honestly, it was a little disappointing that they didn't end up in the top half like a lot of people expected. But I got on some good authority that they got a new coach and they are ready to go for the playoffs. So very excited for that. But taking focus back to this EU GM series, as we mentioned. Bliss is the higher seed, so they do get to pick the first map of control, which I believe our map pool, I believe it's Lijiang, Nepal, Busan, and Oasis. So those are going to be very interesting. I think based on the map that we get, it could tell us a lot about, at least for Bliss, what play style they're definitely going to favor in this series.
Yeah, 100%. That's how most of these maps ends up working. And hey, going into our first map, it's already been selected. And hey, in the CGL landscape, for as long as we've been doing this, right, it shouldn't be any surprise whatsoever. Lijiang Tower is gonna start us out here. And while this is, I think, one of those control maps where you can play a majority of anything, this is gonna lean pretty heavily into things like Rush, like the Brawl. With the only exception being Garden, but even then, a lot of teams still end up opting for it anyway.
The question is for these teams, what flavor of said brawl are they going to want to do, especially with all the, I mean, so we had a mid-season patch, obviously, that came in on Tuesday. And to me, like, there wasn't anything that was groundbreaking, right? Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, like, this hero is so good right now. Like, you just have to play this hero now. But there's a lot of micro stuff that can affect stuff, like Ramatra getting extra 25 HP. So maybe you favor the Ramatra a little bit more. Orisa gets crit by Mauga now, so that matchup's not as good. And then Zarya got a nerf to the energy perk, so Zarya's still good, but just not as potent as she used to be. And then one thing I will say is Cass getting an extra like half a second to that hinder. Whew, that's a big change.
It is really a big change, all things considered, and it should affect not only, what these teams end up picking, but potentially what they're going to ban as well. As Bliss Excelsior has that first ban going into this one. And typically what we've seen, Ray, is teams are typically a bit safer when it comes to that first ban. Usually it's anything between 5 or 6 different heroes that seem to be taken out first, but I don't hazard to guess what might be coming up here first, as the Mauga is gone. And that's, Ray, that is not usually in the 5 or 6 hero group that I was mentioning.
I was gonna say, maybe either A, that's a protect ban, they're trying to protect a certain tank of theirs, or B, they really want to play Orisa and they don't like the matchup into the Mauga, so they're trying to get rid of that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think those are the 2 possibilities. We'll have to see when we load up. But what's going to be the response from the side of EMC Mánagarmr? And it looks like it's going to be the Sim, which no surprises here. This is EU. We know they love their Symmetra in EU, especially on a map like Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like most maps, you can TP out, but also you go over something like Garden and you can TP directly onto the point. We saw that in one of our games yesterday where the team did the exact same and just pretty much settled on point for the majority of that round. It's definitely not something you want to deal with if you don't have to, which means these teams, when you go to something like a Garden, they're going to have to meet together at some point before they get to the point. That is, as long as they don't go opposing directions. But we'll get there when we get there. At the end of the day, we'll see what we'll get out of both of these squads, which again, we're familiar with these orgs and we should be pretty familiar with these players as well, right? As we'll take a look at Bliss Excelsior to get things going this season, that they have had undefeated in the regular season. I should add Shadow and Percy over on DPS, Power over on tank, and then of course you have Tark and Ichiman online on support. And this team has done amazing things. They've only shown that little bit of weakness in the mid-season tournament, but going into this one, you have to consider them as favorites.
Yeah, going undefeated in the regular season is it's no small feat. And for EMC, we got Ozzy, we got Chotaro, Imperator, Octo, and MCG.
Yeah, and hey, this roster, well, they definitely have had their struggles in regular season. You said it yourself, got that new coach in. They're looking like they can go in, make something happen. And when you're at those playoffs, it literally is a situation of anything can happen at any time. And even if it doesn't work out today, hey, they get the opportunity to fight in that lower bracket against the second or third seed. But obviously, we will get there when we get there. We got to focus on this first map here pretty shortly as we're getting everything set up for y'all. But I mean, just in the situation, Ray, if you're the bottom seed going up against the top seed right now, I mean, realistically, what is the strategy here? Is this, hey, let's try throwing things out of walls, seeing what works against the better teams? Or it's, hey, we have a strategy that we're going to throw at for 3 or 4 maps and just hope that it's eventually going to work?
I mean, this is still double elimination, so you're not, loser is not out yet. So I feel like, especially given, you're the seed coming in here, I feel like you can, come out with, anything, man. Surprise them. You got nothing to lose. You're expected to lose. You still have a chance to retool things in the losers bracket if it comes to that. So I would just be trying anything at this point to try and throw them off. Maybe you try the first map where you play, your comps that you feel confident in, and if that doesn't work out well for you, then, maybe you look to just start going with some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a real possibility that ends up being the case, but we'll find out shortly here as it is going to be Garden that's going to get us started out. Obviously, no symmetry to TP directly to point. We'll see what both teams want to pull out here shortly, as again, it seems teams will normally go towards that brawl, and this is definitely, obviously, nothing is locked in place until we actually get out in there, but if the ball sticks around, I mean, the ball has still been quite the menace as of recent times.
Ball's always going to be one of those picks that is just, one of those that can completely throw you off. It can be, if you're not ready for it, can be extremely surprising. And yeah, it does look like they are going to roll out on that Bliss Excelsior. Here we go, folks. D.Va, I do like the D.Va into the ball, given, I'm not sure if they were expecting it, but I do like the matchup. If you're going to play in the ball, D.Va is probably your best suit.
No, 100% it's going to be right here as getting into this one. C-claim onto the point for Bliss Excelsior as Totoro has already been taken out, and it's going to be the quick assault here for Excelsior as they're going to be able to get this one going. MCG wants to just be able to get away with that match. Unfortunately, not given the opportunity, he's going to have to surrender themselves to their own death and take the reset.
Oh, very unfortunate for the side of EMC. It felt like the ideas were there, but it felt like just the amount of poke that Arrow was doing on the soldier was a little bit too much for them to be able to handle. So they got I'd be looking to try and get on top of Arrow on the soldier. It's not like you can do much against a Gigi and a D.Va in their face.
Yeah, 100% it's tough, but that is a pretty good start right there. EMC able to go in. Octo again does get caught out, but it's still very much in their favor to bring this one back around. Mercy ends up having to end up using those shields. Didn't take the reset, only 29% on the board, and they should be able to reset pretty quickly.
Sorry about that, guys. My camera randomly died on me, so I had to fix that. Okay, we are back in it, though. And I think the one thing you're facing your EMC, I do like that they're able to flip that point there. He's got to continue to prioritize putting pressure and losing Octo early is not what you're looking for.
Ooh, yeah, and you're so close to getting rid of Yoshi and pretty much ending this fight right then and there, but eventually giving up the chase. Everyone going to be able to narrow in over time, and the time bank is going to be pretty much the same as MCG. Again, a bit of a delayed death as you get one more touch here from Chotaro, who will take the reset. 33% on the board as Ultimate starting to come up heavy for both sides.
I think Bliss, given the aggression we've seen them playing with, they're on a ball composition. I think they're going to be looking to use mines very quickly here, as it looks like Percy is setting up for that exact thing. Just going to use the slam and get out, but the aggression is still there with Bliss.
Yep, 100%. And now Shadow has a pulse bomb, wants to go behind, wants to be able to connect. Mines come out. It's just kind of push everybody into a room where, hey, that pulse bomb could be effective. We see the boot coming through. No one ends up going down, though. Everyone has great mobility to work with MCG. Might have to use that mech inside there just to kind of keep this fight alive, but you have to consider rush around the corner. You don't have Tark sitting by with that potential captive son anymore, but the longer you sit here, the worse it's going to get right here for EMC. His pulse bomb throw. Now, Octo goes right onto it for Bliss Excelsior. This fight right here is exactly what they wanted.
To me, that was a huge mistake coming out from EMC. Like, I don't mind you going into the room because the mines obviously went off, but you cannot just sit there and stay in that room when you got a Tracer who could just easily poke in there. You got a Percy who could just roll in and out and do damage, right? And then literally from the Wu Yang could just sit there and throw your water orbs in from a distance. Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah, 100%. And now you get one more touch. Gonna get that touch coming in through by multiple members as Beat comes out really aggressively. You see the chase coming down as Totoro is gonna go in with this blade, hoping to find at least one. Gonna get blown up, but we'll take Arrow with them in the process, but still on the point. Bliss Excelsior is hoping to clean things back around. Dark somehow ends up falling off there, which is really unfortunate. This could open up the door for Mánagarmr to come back into this fight, trying to hang around, but Presai is going to have these mines right around the corner. Could just end it just like that as they'll go through, separating Octo. Solo Barrage coming up online. Not going to get anything, but point is going to flip over momentarily at this stage of the game, Ray. It's still going to be really difficult to hold on to this.
Tactical Visor got a couple people low, but they're able to heal it up at the end. It did force out Kitsune Rush, so all you're going to have left for the side of Mánagarmr is going to be that remech, but there's nothing outside of a pulse pump for the side of Bliss Excelsior. So I feel like if you're both teams, you want to play this a little bit more patiently, build up with some of your ultimates, but they find Octo, and that's the go sign.
Yeah, it definitely is, and now the go sign has gone to a very barreling green as bomb can be thrown out. It's going to get nothing as Octo Miyoshi maybe get one more touch coming up here, but overtime is going to tick through. They're going to try to make it in. Unfortunately, they'll make it in by just a split second, but right, this is delaying the inevitable. Trying to get one more in right there, unfortunately, just shy, as Bliss Excelsior, with a little bit of trouble, do eventually come through on the first round.
168%, you know, all things considered, not too bad for Mánagarmr. One thing they got to clean up is they can't keep losing Octo so quickly and early in those fights. So hopefully, you know, they're realizing what's really killing them and they can fix that going forward. And I feel like they're not applying enough pressure to some of these supports. Like, outside of like your water movement and your like radiant like burst that gets you away, like once those are gone, like those supports are so pickable. Like, just get on top of them, get rid of them. They're providing so much utility for this team on Bliss.
100%. And hey, comp's not gonna change at all here. If you're EMC, I mean, it's tough to say what you want to do in this fight because there's so much separation that can be brought into form right now. Everyone can take a bunch of different off angles, so it's gonna be really difficult to take care of anybody as you're gonna barely get away from the situation if you're Imperator. And as the team begins to fall around them, there might not be too much to gain. Everybody will die in that room together. And for Bliss Excelsior, it's gonna be a fantastic first fight. Gonna get the cleanup, and now you can leave MCG to the wolves and force them to make the long trek back.
It's so interesting. Like, the fact that you're wanting to take these fights in these small rooms is so perplexing to me for EMC. Like, you have a Pharaoh. Like, it's not like they have an aerial shot to be able to shoot through the roof or something in that room and help them out. All they can do is poke from the side, and it's just less effective. So I feel like you want to really kite this team into the open and not be, you know, taking these fights in such close quarters.
Yeah, they could just force their way through and get right over to that point. In fact, Octo out on that brig is going to offer a little more protection overall, as yeah, you will see this. They're just going to go directly to the point right now. They need to try to keep multiple people on so they can potentially get a push, but unfortunately, it will eventually happen, which is good for them. But now they need to be able to settle on this point. Make sure you're watching those off angles, making sure people don't just follow up on the sides. His mine can be thrown out, causing a little bit of separation. Need to try to find that final blow over onto Shadow, but Yoshi not able to quite follow it up as bodies slowly beginning to fall once again. EMC struggling to get these back-to-back fights while Yoshi gets out with one. It's not going to do enough.
Getting arrow down. Oh, I was going to say, if you get out, you know, you can re-engage, but Yoshi getting picked off is going to dispel any chance of a recontest quickly from the side of Mánagarmr. Arrow will be back. Still plenty of ultimates to be able to use as we see Shadow peeking around looking for a pulse.
Yep, and unfortunately Yoshi's separated from the squad. Will get a little bit of salvation. A Shadow gonna have to back out once again as a big fight taking place near the point. MCG has been taken out on this ball, and while there is pressure over onto the point, it's gonna be really tough to make this happen, as eventually you get a touch coming through, and the ball's gonna be able to help stabilize. Even if Yoshi is again finding a pick or two every single fight, it's not gonna be enough if you don't have the follow-up of your tank sitting by for you.
I don't hate going over to the ball for EMC, and I actually like the fact that they went to the Brig as well. The bash can be the bash and the whiplash in general can be extremely threatening to someone like Shadow on the Tracer, but the mines are just so much. I mean, you're gonna have the point for now, but for how long? But Shadow gets a double pulse.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. They were pretty separated from each other. Well, I'll look back at that one later. But either way, what we do know is that it's 85%. It is counting, 3 ults on the table, and no one here has an easy touch.
That they do not, and there's just such a staggering amount of ultimates. They got to get a lot out of Shotaro and Yoshi, but the tidal wave blast, not going to get anything, but it forces players to have to play back. However, the blade finds the tactical visor soldier.
Yep, and it's going to be tough to pull this one back around. Catch some comes out. That was nothing remaining here for EMC. They just got to try to hang on with their supports, care for each other. Espersai is in a rough area. MCG managed to get rid of Tark as well. Could be opening up the door, but now you've gone on the outside. Flip does coup through his MCG. Gets rid of another. Espersai again is going to be pushed away. Mind throw now, forcing into a corner. It could be another. Pulls one back around, but MCG has their own, and it's going to come down to this, Ray.
Yeah, as we see MCG coming in, putting a mines down of their own, but it just feels like they're taking so much damage, they're going to get out, and I think you probably let them, I was going to say, maybe you let them cap the point and retouch, but you need this percentage to keep ticking up. I don't think you can afford to give away the points so easily, but now they're going to have to as MCG's health is so low.
Oh my goodness. Waiting a little too long to pop that one as they will go down, and Yoshi trying to come in with the miracle, but it shan't be found, and now it's just Bliss Excelsior finding the cleanup. Only Chotaro remaining, but likely isn't going to touch in time as, again, you see them fighting back really hard, but Bliss Excelsior, once they clamp down hard and hold on to this point.
I would say the one thing with Bliss Excelsior and the comp that they're playing, like the Wrecking Ball one, is you can't be afraid to let the point flip in exchange for you winning a team fight. So I think that is part of it. Not that not that EMC isn't putting up a fight. They definitely are. They're having their moments. They're winning some fights. But also, Bliss Excelsior is not afraid to let that point go in the favor as long as they win the team fight. So I think all things considered, Bliss is looking very good in that ball comp. Not sure if that's going to be what we continue to see throughout every single map, but the map pick does go in favor of EMC Mánagarmr. So you can now look to bring yourself to a map where you feel a lot more comfortable. And I was going to say, given that these teams play each other so often, you got to know, like, because it's a small division, so you play each other frequently. You got to know what these teams are capable of and what they're good at and what they aren't good at. So taking yourself to a map where you feel good, and then you are going to have much more well-informed bans.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what comes with adapting throughout a series. There are times where we've seen a team come out, get destroyed on control, and then go and win the next 3 maps after that experience. I mean, I don't have enough fingers to be able to count that. I got to be honest. But in this situation, it's what they're going to have to do here, because even if they do come out of the situation losing 3-0, 3-1, if they come out learning from the experience, if they get better from it, that's still all the better. They still have that second chance. But obviously, you would love to come in here and beat the first seed right out the gate, get all that momentum, because we have seen teams that have kind of started from the bottom and rise to the top because they win a big game like this in the opening rounds of playoffs.
Would you see that they're here now that they started from the bottom?
I was trying to deliberately not go to
I did that on
joke.
purpose. I had a feeling you were deliberately avoiding it.
Yeah. Plenty of jokes here on the CGL stream. Let's go. But you said it yourself. They're going to have their own pick as to where they want to go here, and obviously the pool is still wide open, not just in terms of maps, but modes as well. And you could bring it to a situation of, hey, maybe we want to take it over back to dive, but just kill the ball. Or maybe you go to a map like, like a King's Row, where, hey, we can force a heavy brawl style. It's not as easy to run what you want to run here. Let's make the fights a little more linear and see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta try and keep it away from ball, but it's tough. Like, I'm trying to think of like even Kings, you can play ball. Like it's not the most ideal, but I've seen plenty of teams make it work. I'm trying to think of like a map where I'm like, you don't play ball on that map. It's not a lot. Like
It is not.
ironically, you know, if you're good at ball, you can make it work in a lot of different situations. I mean, even like a Gibraltar, it's still fine. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, I think maybe a map where it doesn't work as well. I think Circuit Royale first and second.
Yeah, Circuit. That's
I think
a
it
good
doesn't
one.
work as
Yeah,
well.
Circuit.
Like Circuit is definitely one. I'm trying to look through.
Oh,
more.
you know what? Shambali, it's not that good on. So maybe Shambali.
It is pretty awkward on Shambali. Yes, I think there are certain areas you could get away with it, but there are certain places where you take chokes that you're not going to be able to get away with that to set up for a ball.
Because in my head, I was looking at all the push maps. I'm like, no, you can play ball on all the push maps. I'm like, Flashpoint, you can play ball on all the flashpoints. I mean, maybe New Junk City, it's not nearly as good, but it's still fine. Like,
I would have said New Junk City if it was its original one, but the way it is now, I think it's a little easier to do it. But either way, all of our talk of ball is probably going to go out the window as we are just going back down to the route of the tried and true as my camera decides to be hit with an EMP. We're going to head to our second map momentarily, which is going to be
mine,
Kings
obviously.
Row. Yeah, just a little bit of dying here in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. But either way, Kings Row, yeah, I mean, Ray, at this point, I think what's going to happen from here might be a little self-explanatory. This should just go down the route of brawl/rush. The question is whether or not you want to double down and also get rid of the ball just to get rid of any chance, or maybe you decide we need to save that ban for a different map.
well, we got El Clasico so far, Lijiang and the Kings. For Overwatch 2, if you want to make it even more El Clasico, that means map 3 is going to be Suravasa. But, well, we will see. But I kind of agree this map definitely lends itself better to the brawl compositions. So I think the bans are going to be important. For the side of Mánagarmr, they are going to have that first ban. So you're in a situation where it's like, do we want to pull that Riptide? I'm not sure if you want to pull that on this map. Like, if you go to map 3 and you lose, and you're more left with the modes where ball's actually going to be very good, I feel like you might want to save the trigger pull on that ball ban for those maps.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment in this situation right here. As to whether or not they're going to do it, we'll see later on. But obviously going into the situation where you are likely going to fall down this brawl route, we didn't get to see a whole lot of it. But the way brawl kind of is right now is I feel like a lot of these characters are really viable still. I mean, it feels like there's not just one.
Oh, this is interesting, actually. Real quick, sorry to interrupt a little bit. So Bliss Excelsior is banning first, which means Mánagarmr elected to pick their side first. So Bliss Excelsior got to ban first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance they decided to go on the defense first and have something to try to shut down. So Excelsior go for bans. They're getting rid of the Lucio, which that's extremely interesting here. When this means they are slowing the pace down. Obviously, Juno still exists, but Lucio is kind of just the go-to for rush style comps.
Agreed. I mean, I still have seen forms of rush played with like a Kiri Wu Yang in certain situations, so we'll see. But and the Soldier, man, they really did not like Arrow on that previous map. They're like, all right, time to just get rid of this pocket hero.
I don't blame them in the slightest. I mean, Arrow was getting a ton of value off it, constantly just sitting on that off angle, and there was only like one person who could do anything about it, and you would have someone like Ichiban who was just sitting back there and just constantly keeping the off angle as well. So there's nothing you can do in that 2v1 situation. So I guess when you're going like this, you're taking away the ability to have these off angles a little bit more. Obviously, it still opens the door to stuff like a Tracer, like a Venture, regardless. But I think it's honestly pretty fair to decide, hey, if we're not banning the ball, this is a pretty good response instead.
Alrighty, folks, as you can see on the screens, Kings Row will be the map with a Lucio and a Soldier ban. As we talked about, it definitely inhibits the brawl that you expect on Kings Row, but I've definitely, as I mentioned, seen iterations. I've also seen brawls who they decide to utilize the Juno instead of that Lucio, which means, overall, you have less speed utility because, you're waiting on the cooldown of the speed ring instead of like a constant passive speed boost. But I think you could still make that work as long as you're cycling the cooldowns properly and basically like you're planning your fights around having that cooldown.
pretty much essentially it's what you're gonna have to do here. Obviously there are plenty of ways to go about it right here. You don't necessarily have to go fast on a map like this, because obviously there is a little difference between a rush and a brawl at the end of the day. And I'm like, oh, let me go into the intricacies of what's different between these. One go fast, one go very fast is basically the the argument here. But there are brawl comps where you can introduce something like a Sigma. The Sigma has a bunch of poke value, but also has a lot of up face value as well. Same thing with the Ramatra. You could do it the exact same way, where it's like, hey, we don't exactly have to run this like a Junker Queen style where it's all in or nothing. But with Bliss Excelsior, they're going to try a little something here, as Power is going to go back into that tank position, and Persei is on the DPS. And remember, Ray, we looked at their initial roster earlier. This is what was shown to us. Persei being on the tank is not usually the case.
Yeah, it's it's going to add a little wrinkle into this. Maybe we aren't going to be seeing the ball, obviously, given we're on King's Row. So maybe they are looking to play a little bit more standard brawl. Excuse me, sorry. With Power now going back to their original tank spot. But as I mentioned, Mánagarmr are like the kings in this division of taking a map. So I think this map probably lends themselves to the best possibility of being able to do that. And we don't have an Orisa ban anymore. If I remember correctly, I think Mánagarmr is pretty dang good at that Orisa.
Yeah, I think the Orisa still has a lot of value, and I think Power can also get a lot of value from it on top of that. But obviously, we see the Hazard in front of our screen. Hazard does still have a pretty decent amount of value. We still see it come out a fair amount as a substitute for something like the Winston or the D.Va. And I think it's still a character that honestly can get a fair amount of value here. I mean, you have a lot of sustain to work with around these corners. You have your block to be able to sustain through a lot more as well. But obviously, not just that. Oh, a different swap as well, as Ozzy is going to come in on DPS and Yoshi's going to stay in, but is moving over to the support category. So both teams making role swaps in this situation. I don't know whether or not this is the norm for Yoshi, but regardless, I mean, we gotta be doing it for a reason.
As I mentioned, backs, you got nothing to lose if you're the side of EMC Mánagarmr, so maybe they have been in the kitchen and they have been cooking up something spicy. Can't wait to see as we'll be getting loaded into King's Row here shortly. But map number 1 going in favor of Bliss Excelsior. It was basically a ball versus ball or ball versus D.Va fight on that map where Bliss in the end got the advantage. Mánagarmr had their moments, but they couldn't string together more than one team fight in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it was proof they could take fight wins. They 100% found themselves capable of doing so. They managed to get 15+ percentile on both of those maps. So they definitely have a dog within this fight, and we'll see whether or not this little swap around is going to help them, because now they're not going to have to deal with the ball situation anymore, which means, hey, them not picking the ball ended up working out pretty good here. Since Power is coming in, and I imagine you're not subbing out a ball player to put in another ball player, so we'll see what the case ends up being. Obviously, though, with the way those bans went from the outset here, I'm curious which way EMC decided to go in terms of attacking or defending first.
Here we go, map number 2, folks. King's Row. As defensively, Bliss is pulling out the Ramatra, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. With the new patch, Ramatra got an extra 25 HP, so especially in brawl situations, definitely going to be much more viable. For EMC, I am not going to comment on that until I actually see them walk out of spawn doors with that, because I feel like I'm being baited.
Maybe a little bit, but also we did think the exact same thing earlier, potentially with the ball, but now as, I mean, MCG is still eventually going to rock out on the
I told you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, ball.
Oh, wait, that's smart.
In my head, ball, I believe more than Doom. I see a ball, I'm like, okay, I think that's more realistic. Doom, I just never believe. Unless like your UCSC here for Collegiate and NA, where they have Zebra always on the Doom. Anyway,
Exactly.
Here we go. The
Yeah.
Zarya, if you can get a lot of charge up, you can put a lot of pressure on the Ramatra, but all things considered, the Ramatra has the sustain, especially with the Nemesis form, to be able to take a lot of this incoming damage.
No, 100%. Ichiban has been taken down first, though, so this is the moment where you have to go inside right now. If you're EMC, you need to go on the aggression. You've gotten that first pick. You shouldn't be slowing down whatsoever in this situation. But instead, they're kind of taking a little bit of their sweet time, hanging around inside. Octo getting a little bit of pressure, is in a rough situation, and now Power just moves in with Persei, and they are just deleting them on the spot. MCG does get one on the way out, but this is, I realize you don't have the Lucio, but Ray, this is something they're going to have to adapt to doing, where if you get that advantage, you have to take it.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you do lose power, so you have an ability to look to re-engage quickly, but they got the Wu Yang so early on. I don't know why they didn't look to press the advantage they had. That's a huge, huge issue for me, for Mánagarmr.
Yeah, huge issues here, but you got the first pick once before. You can definitely do it again, as Persei is going to be able to move in a little bit, bring that pressure, keeping up top. Just gonna, again, just cause people to turn around, cause separation. That's exactly what you want to do, is the big kills are going to come through. Octo already having that tidal wave active, could throw it onto MCG, and has thrown it onto somebody. We'll see if it's going to find its value, and Totoro is able to find that value in time, but Persei again in the back line, able to come up big time. Shadow and them have been doing a phenomenal job here, getting these follow-ups, making sure these fights constantly go back and forth, but Power is eventually going to close it out with the 3K. With the Annihilation, they have to invest, but it's definitely worthwhile.
100%. To keep having control at this point, no ticks given. I think it is definitely totally okay to push that in. You're still going to have 4 of your ultimates online, and you got the tidal wave blast out of them, so it's a 1-for-1. I think you feel very comfortable with this. One thing I'd be worried about a little bit is this incoming Kitsune rush from Imperator.
100% I would be here. This next fight, I'm going. Kitsune rush is early. Pulse bomb comes out of the back line. Nothing quite there. As, oh no, this could be devastating if they don't see it coming. They're gonna go through, gonna potentially try to jump down, gonna go for the big one. Unfortunately, is gonna be interrupted. You know, I don't blame Persei at all there, but either way, EMC is gonna move forward, take claim to the first point. It still has a lot of ultimates on the table.
Yeah, MCG having that bubble available, and then the rest of the team being able to quickly realize what was going on and counter it. Great situational awareness from Mánagarmr. Gotta see that continue. The good thing is, they had I believe they had 1 late spawn, so yeah, which would be Percy on the Reaper. So you definitely have to, you can't play as aggressively as you'd wish.
Yeah, now they're just getting bullied here on the front line, as Ozzy unfortunately gonna hit that car, which means eventually just has to take the down here. But still, even with that fight being the case, I mean, Excelsior doesn't get any additional ultimates. Mánagarmr managed to hold on to all of theirs still, so they're still sitting all right now.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I think the Grav Blade alone should go pretty crazy. The one thing you got to make sure you do is probably you need to get this tidal wave blast out Ichiban in order to get full effect out of these 2 ults.
Yeah, 100%. But you see just the aggression right out the gate. You throw everything in MCG to keep them alive, and even then, it is not enough. And this is the issue that you're having here, is you're just kind of getting put in a stranglehold. If I'm EMC at this point, I might try going all the way around the backside and flanking and just trying to flip map.
The one thing you have to worry about is Percy and Shadow are playing extremely aggressive up front, so they will know if you are planning to do that, and they should be able to rotate quickly enough.
But, of course, you got to try something in this situation instead of, you know, continuously walking into the front line without using any of the ultimates, which, by the way, Excelsior has built up to 4 more of their own. Pulse Bomb going to be thrown out here. Not going to getting off of that right now as you see the Grav coming through. Fortunately, doesn't look like it's going to get a lot. Totoro is eventually going to be able to find some. They're trading back and forth. At the end of the day, the trade is good for Mánagarmr, but the problem is that with how long this fight is going, there should be time to get your supports back in time.
Again, Bliss Excelsior is just playing extremely aggressive. They're not letting EMC Mánagarmr take any space. There is that Orisa being brought out like I talked about. I do like the Orisa into the Ramatra, because if you're in that Nemesis form and you're blocking, that Javelin spin just disrupts it, and you could throw down all that damage onto the Ramatra once again.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what the situation is going to be, though, as Blade is coming through. Shadowro was just hit with it. That's been the responsible every time as Persei again goes to the Death Blossom, again gets taken care of. We're down to a 3v3 though, so it is a winnable situation. The question is whether or not Power wants to invest in this fight, and I think for the time being is willing to bide the time and wait for the rest of the team to come back.
They still have defensive utilities if they want to be able to use it here. Like, you pop the Nemesis form, you still have the ability to pop yourself the Annihilation if you want, but they're going to force out Kitsune, which is already good enough.
Yep, and now you could find a one clip here. Hoping to get that cleanse out of there. The cleanse is gone. If a stick comes through, it's going to catch on as Shadow's going to have to recall, finds the kill onto Octo eventually. Hoping to I mean, yeah, Shadow was just getting away with so much in this backline. Persei managed to get the follow-up, and now all you got to do is just walk in, get rid of these last three, but MCG is still kicking, still hanging around, about to have that Terror Surge online, but it's gonna have to be massive with so little time left, and they're gonna back out. I don't know if they can touch here.
Yeah, with 10 seconds, they kind of had to back out or they were going to lose their Orisa, but you got to get a touch. Shadow going down is actually a huge deal, and they will get the touch in the end just in time, so things are, you know, not looking too shabby. But instead, EMC, they have the Terra Surge, and really the only thing that's coming up for Bliss, Shadow with a Pulse Bomb, and you get the Captive Sun for the Illari.
Yeah, they're gonna pull them into that. What a combo. Is eventually gonna get rid of Tark right then and there, but now you gotta worry about Power being knocked away. Shadow still has a Pulse Bomb as well. Could be looking for that perfect save, but Power has been separated from the rest of the squad. MCG needs some care, doesn't get it as Shadow could still be trying to bring this back around. Pulse Bomb comes out. It's gonna stick on the Octo.
No way.
Persei is gonna help them clear house, as it's gonna be the big Death Blossom to finish it out. And my God, Shadow and Persei, that is a DPS display on that defense.
Felt like that. I couldn't tell for sure. 100. Okay, so the Suzu was definitely early, right? Excuse me. The thing is, I don't know if it was forced early because they were low, or if that was just a mistime, if that makes sense. But regardless, super unfortunate, because if you would have had that, so you would have at least survived the Pulse Bomb. I still think you clean it home with the Death Blossom. But it's just wow, what a masterclass from those two DPS from Bliss, Percy and Shadow.
Yeah, they've been doing phenomenal. Honestly, Chodoro in their own right has been getting a good amount of kills, good amount of damage as well, but unfortunately has been found out quite a lot of times. But I mean, you could say that about the whole team at this stage of the game. But now you know what you're expecting for the most part going into the situation if you're Mánagarmr. Obviously, Percy's up there with the Widowmaker, so you got to be careful not to peek. And if I'm Ozzy on this might be a rough time because you can't peek a whole lot in this situation. So it could be rough.
Actually, don't hate the Freya defensively, honestly. There's a lot of areas where you can play around where you have cover. You can jiggle peek, obviously, through the windows. And if you can, it basically just adds to the poke ability that you're going to have with the Orisa. And then you always have Chodoro, who's going to play that front line with your Orisa, so you don't have to worry about your tank, you know, taking a lot of frontline pressure because the Reaper is going to alleviate a lot of that.
We'll see what the case is going to be to get out on this one. That's Percy already back over on that Reaper to get things going around. Going to pressure that top immediately, but is forced off just as quickly. But you see, this is what they're doing right here. They're surrounding them immediately. They're making it as rough as possible to focus on one continuous source, because that's what you're going to hope for if you're MC, is that you can just keep barreling down the same place over and over again. But Chodoro being down means you lose a bunch of that upfront damage, and at this point, I would just be getting out, taking the reset, and trying to touch again once you get 2 ticks.
Agree with you 100%. Oh, losing Ozzy there pretty much seals things up. If you are the side of Mánagarmr, because you didn't get super far distance on second point, you got to back up. You got to look to play patient. I don't like this.
I don't either, but they go for it. They try to find something. Unfortunately, again, it's just Shadow and Percy in the back line, just cleaning things around. Eventually get rid of them. And now, no one gets those forward spawns. They're not going to be able to defend the archway. It's a risk, and it doesn't pay off.
Yeah, so now you're taking next fight at basically the bookstore corner, and because you got the cart basically to Foundry corner, if you lose cleanly in a fight at bookstore corner, that's it. You're not going to be able to touch in time, and that's just going to be donezo. You needed to just play patiently and take a fight here at the archways.
Yeah, 100% you have to right here, but You see they're keeping 1 or 2 people back on that point constantly, making sure it stays going. But without any ultimates, I mean, Mánagarmr's not going to be able to do a whole lot within this situation. They're building up to them, but you're going to have power coming up on the line with the Annihilation. You're literally going to have everything. If you wanted to go into this fight and just make it a 4-0 fight, you could. But Brissy does go down. Churro, though, pretty much drops right into that one. And now you go in, trying to find something with this Captive Sun. Tidal Wave has been thrown in. Going to try to stun up power on this one, but the shield comes out just in time to prevent it. As Power takes a ton of damage, kind of has to hit a little bit of a reset button. As going in deep like this, Power is being forced into a very rough situation, but with the Annihilation, it could be enough to shut it all down as people are dying with ultimates, and I don't think we're even getting a proper fight here for EMC.
Yeah, I think that is going to be all sure. I mean, you get a touch from the Reaper, but you've used all of your CDs, and that is all she wrote. Bliss Excelsior takes a 2-0 lead in the series and puts themselves on match point to punch their ticket to the winners finals.
Yeah, 100%. They are getting just that close. If things keep going the way they have, I mean, it looks like it's definitely going to go that way. But still, job ain't done quite yet. And if you're going to be able to win this one out, it is shutting down Percy in Shadow. That is what you need to do into this situation. It's been a struggle for them throughout the entirety of this series because, to be fair, I think everyone over the side of EMC is doing a fair job when it comes to their 1v1s, when it comes to pushing the front and taking those head-on fights. I think they're doing fine, but whenever they take that advantage rate, it feels like constantly, whether it's Shadow or Percy, they are back there causing disruption, getting rid of somebody, and just making it so that they can't win these back-to-back fights. It's something that they've been struggling to do pretty much the entire series so far.
Well, folks, Bliss Excelsior has taken a 2-0 lead in the series, but how will EMC Mánagarmr respond? We'll find out right after this break. They're going to get a few minutes to figure that out, and we will be right back at you with some more CGL EUGM action.
Everybody, welcome back from the break, and thank you all for joining us once more for some EUGM action. And so far, Ray, it has been an exchange between these two teams. Definitely a lot of fight coming from EMC Mánagarmr, but unfortunately, Bliss Excelsior has been tearing up the backline throughout the entirety of this series, and now you only get one more opportunity if you're EMC to try to make this happen. And from here, it's going to continue to be an uphill climb.
Yeah, very excited to see if Mánagarmr, as I mentioned, they normally find themselves taking maps off teams, so want to see if they're going to be able to do that once again, because they did take a map off Bliss Excelsior in the regular season. I think I cast a match between these two teams, so can't wait to figure that out. As do we have the map pick in? I do not remember, to be honest.
Well, I'm sure if it does exist, it'll be brought up momentarily. But oh, we do have a map pick. I wonder what it is. If they're smart, it'll be, that is not the map I was going to say. But Cervasa, to be fair, I don't think a bad map whatsoever.
El Clasico for Overwatch 2, as I talked about. Let's go. That's the new El Clasico. Lijon King, Cervasa.
Man, Cervasa does get played a fair amount, which, to be fair,
dude, everyone loves Cervasa, man.
I used to love New Junk City. I literally sat in these chats forever preaching how amazing it is, and then I just did not like the rework. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm with the norm. I'm a Cervasa fan now.
It's actually crazy because so many more people. I mean, not that they hate they actually like it a lot better with the reworks. It's crazy that you went like you were opposite, and then they changed it, and then you went with the opposite again. Like that's really funny. But I think in general, people have just always enjoyed Cervasa. I actually really love the changes they made to Cervasa. I remember me and my team scrim on that a lot, and oh man, that between Temple and Ruins, that back way they made to be able to transition between the 2 points, oh, that was like the best thing they could have added.
No, I think it was a fantastic addition. We'll see if it gets used here. Which, it took people a minute to realize, like, oh my god, this is here? What is this? It took me like a few days of like going and playing the thing and being like, oh my god, this is here. This is amazing. Let's see how much it actually gets
Yeah, it's
used.
funny. I never really used it until a scrim the other day where, we won a fight and then we took a fight like in that area and then went that way to the next point. I was like, oh wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, plus it sets up for a really good flank angle on either side. Makes it a little bit easier to be undetected. But again, we'll see if we get over to those points. You never know. Of course, everything outside of that center point is random in terms of when it's going to pop up, or if it pops up at all, if it only ends up going those 3 or 4 rounds. But obviously, with it being Flashpoint, typically it's a lot faster paced than some of the other modes that we have here in Overwatch. These fights are going to be very fast. Those maps, or I should say those points, are going to be gone within 2 fights, which is still crazy to me how fast it can be. Like, oh, we push with those 30%, and then suddenly we're looking at it's like, oh, now it's at 80. That's weird.
Yeah, sorry guys. Anyway, the thing to think is with the map like Cervasa, it's extremely open in what you can play. Like, I think back to OWCS, and this is like the map where everyone likes the Wrecking Ball a lot. So I think that's going to be on the play for Bliss Excelsior if they want to go down that route once again. But it's still going to be plenty good for, your Zaryas and your Orissas and your Ramatras, or even your Hazards of the world. It feels like the King's Row of Flashpoint maps. Like, you can play whatever flavor you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd agree with that in the day and age of the scope of Overwatch 2 that we have now. But obviously, with that all still being the case, we still have to ban out a couple of our heroes. EMC banning first for the first time in this series, and they have decided that they hate DPS, apparently, as they've already gone back to back. We'll see if we get the hat trick here, or maybe this is where you decide there's a certain something we don't like. Maybe that Ramatra is becoming too much, but they banned the ball, which is... I mean, to be fair, if they made the swap back, I guess maybe, but I don't know. That's strange.
Well, okay, so the way it works is they get to pick their lineups after the bans. So if they didn't ban the Wrecking Ball, they could have made the swap. So I think they were just not wanting to have to play that game at all, which, fair enough.
Yeah, can't say I blame them, but Kiriko is the other ban here, which, to be fair, again, Bliss Excelsior has been hating supports, and to be fair, I'm fine with that. You're trying to slow down the pace. You're trying to make it as difficult as possible for this back line to survive. And if you take away something like the Lucio that can boot people away, something like a Kiriko that can self-cleanse and TP out, you make it easier to kind of keep disrupting. And for Shadow and Percy, it's going to continue being a simple job for them as they kind of just continue making it a difficult time.
As you can see, the bans that we've seen throughout this entire series, one team hating supports, one team hating DPS. But it's totally fine. I'm excited to see how this map is going to come to its conclusion. Wouldn't surprise me here if Bliss continues to play the Ramatra, but I mean, you can still, as I mentioned, go up on the Hazard. You could play Zari instead, or Orisa. We haven't seen the inclination to want to play Orisa at a Bliss, so I feel like it's more likely if you aren't seeing Ramatra, you're more likely to see like a Zari or a Hazard.
Yeah, I think it'll likely go down that way. I think that'd be most comfortable for, I think, both these teams, quite honestly. But obviously, we saw before these teams believing that this is the vibe that's going to get the job done going into this one. Obviously, no attack or defense advantage out the gate. But for the time being, MCG has definitely messed with us a couple times in the past, currently rocking the Malga. Power being over on the Sigma, I could legitimately see them doing pretty much this, plus like Percy swapping over to like a Tracer or something, because if you've already been struggling as EMC to go in for some of these aggressive fights, it could work out. But instead, they make the full sale swap, they make me look like an absolute idiot, and I'm going to retire.
Hey, it's all right. It's all right. It happens. But yeah, Ramatra versus the Malga. I actually think Ramatra has an okay matchup into the Malga. As I mentioned, the Orisa struggles a little bit more. So the Ramatra will definitely have much more sustain to be able to work with that Nemesis form and just block to be able to deal with a lot of incoming damage. I like the Reaper. The Reaper being able to apply a lot of pressure onto this Malga from Bliss, I think is a really good thing to have here.
Yeah, but first he's already gotten rid of Ozzy. Furiator has just been destroyed in the backline as well, already too. For Percy to get things started, and all you can do if your MCG is kind of hang around and I guess stall out the point with a little more touch. Unfortunately, won't even get the opportunity to do so. Will go down, and I think the Malga experiment could potentially end just that quickly, honestly.
It looked like they were trying to get a stomp onto Power because they were low, but the burst heals came in from the Wu Yang and the Alari, so excuse me, no surprise here. We're gonna see no swaps coming in from EMC Mánagarmr. I'm a little surprised that they're playing Lucio Bap with this. Feels a little strange. Normally Kiri goes pretty well on this. And Percy on the flank finds Imperator.
God, it has been the Percy show this entire time, but Shadow wants to make a name as well, as they're going to clear a house. Octo did get rid of Tark once again. Tark has been taken out quite a few times. Unfortunately, it's just not doing a whole lot for the grand scheme of things.
And now ults are mounting for the side of Excelsior. Mánagarmr does not have anything to work with whatsoever. And this is their last chance to try and cap this first point. I like the pathing they're taking instead, to go wider, to go around. I say that, but now they're going to take the fight here.
I mean, why not? I mean, 90+% right now. Pulse Bomb is ready to go. Ready for the opening. You're going to get a touch at least, but now you're going to be clearing house, and Shadow and Percy again. I think they found like 90% of the final blows thus far, and it is staying that way right now. It's just been an incredible display on their part.
And a one ult investment from the side of Bliss Excelsior to be able to win that feels incredibly strong. We do see Imperator getting off of the Baptiste and going over to the Moira, which I'm not sure that's much better, but I mean, Immortality Field just kept getting forced out so early on by Percy and by Shadow. Sorry, the screen went black for a second, folks. So I was blinking for a minute.
Yeah, lots of EMPs today, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mind too much. They'll nerf the EMP eventually. But either way, we do see that tidal wave being thrown out there, trying to find some kind of target to go through. You see the blink away last moment right there from Ozzy to not be hit by it, as you're hoping to be able to come through and win your first fight this time if you're EMC. But unfortunately, the Captive Sun says, nah, no fight wins for you, as eventually Shadow going to throw the Pulse Bomb into the ether as they will take this fight away. Now, the bright side is that is 3 ults invested for Excelsior, and EMC use a whopping 0.
Yeah, that's extremely favorable fight. Yeah, you don't get the point, but you can re-engage if you're Mánagarmr, and you're going to have a war chest of ultimates to be able to work with. Even Imperator on the Moira has gotten a lot of ult charge gained already. My guess is they're going to look to get aggressive with this cage right off the gate. The only thing you have to worry about is Percy using Death Blossom in the middle of that cage.
Yeah, and you see everyone saying a little bit of separation. You don't want anybody getting caught out in it. Beat gonna be used for the all-out aggression. Is Ichiban just gonna be able to roll out of there? Just try to stay away. Power doesn't have the ult sitting by, but honestly, it's not gonna matter. Shadow and Percy have already went and cleaned house. Shotaro, I mean, is hanging around. Unfortunately, isn't gonna be able to find one person there. Actually, Power does walk out and say, "Yes, I want to die. Thank you very much." As Percy gets the follow-up, and they'll take another reset. As this is gonna have to be a quick touch.
I like the idea of getting aggressive with the beat, but it just felt like, I don't know if they were just scattered. It felt like no one really all got on one target and found the kills, and then they just got picked off by the flanking Shadow, by the flanking Percy once again. So they got to clean that up. They still have 4 ults for this next fight, but in the meantime, Bliss has built up to a lot.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm just using power on this one. Pulse Bomb does come out as Octo can't get high enough. They tried jumping up high, and instead Percy is going to clear things out once more. Totoro is going to try to pull back around, but Power has to pop the ultimate just to take care of business. But Ozzy, the lone person with Imperator. Imperator is going to close it down, and it's one person left on the point as EMC take the fight win.
As the lone Moira able to win the fight. Point flipped pretty early for Bliss in that fight as well, so you gotta be feeling pretty good. So you're gonna get a decent amount of percentage. So you're only get 2 cracks at this if you're either side of Mánagarmr. I mean, if you're either side of Bliss Excelsior to try and win this point, they don't really have anything. They're coming up on Capture Sun and Tidal Wave, but they're pretty far from it. But it's not like EMC has anything either. So this is dry fights from coming out from both teams.
Yeah, unfortunately, Imperator's gonna be in a really rough situation if they get caught out, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Shadow is being relentless in that backline. His point's gonna flip over. EMC just has to fall down, and Shadow, I mean, man, this has been insane throughout the entire series, this DPS. I know we talk so much about it, but when you're constantly in that kill feed, constantly getting those final blows, it's really hard not to.
Also, the entire team at Excelsior, not only do they play with aggression, but they're playing aggression with angles. So it's like EMC is constantly having a Shadow from one spot, and then, they turn around and Percy's over here, and then right in front of them, there's Power. So it's like they're having to look in a million different directions, and they're struggling to deal with that at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. Man, it's a rough go of it. Again, Shadow, Percy hanging around in there. Power able to help finish things out once more, as they'll be able to go and take their time, laying claim to this point. And for Bliss Excelsior, they are 1 point away from moving on to those upper finals, and so far, it's looking like they might be able to get the job done.
Here we go. Those 3 big ultimates we talked about now online for Excelsior with the Annihilation plus the double support ultimates. Oh, that's already a lot of damage taken by MCD.
Oh, that is not the place I want to be. Octo gets the beat out, though. It's going to be able to sustain for a little while longer. But the thing is, Power never ended up actually popping. Yeah, they get separated. Power never actually invested the ultimate, so it's going to be ready for this next fight. And now they're going to double down. Obviously not necessary, but I mean, hey, why not? And now you're at 50+%. You have a tidal wave, and EMC just have one more opportunity to pull this one back.
They're going to have a lot to be able to engage here, so you have to get a lot of value out of this tidal wave of your Excelsior, because you can use Coalescence, you have the Pulse Bomb, and then later in the fight, you're going to have your Death Blossom and your Annihilation. So they have the tools in the chest. They just have to make something happen, and they've yet to so far.
Ooh. Yep, Ozzy not going to be able to catch Shadow out there. Shadow, in fact, getting rid of the tank, and now with a little bit of tidal wave being thrown in, Imperior's just going to have to try to let this loose and see what happens. Ozzy does manage to get rid of one, though, keeps the possibility alive. They're going to be chasing down the support, so the possibility is still here to make this happen. The invisible Coalescence goes absolutely wild, by the way, as they're going to start pushing in. Pulse Bomb is going to stick through, but the fade is going to cause for it to go away. And now with them zooming in, it looks like EMC going to take away this fight, keeping their hopes alive, but got to take it one at a time from here on out.
I have to say, out of all the visual bugs I've ever seen in Overwatch, I love the invisible Coalescence. It's hilarious. Anyway, and Chotaro was able to hold on to the Death Blossom, and MCG will be getting that Annihilation coming online, so they're going to have 2 great tools to continue to hold defensively. So for Bliss, the good thing about Gardens is there's a lot of different angles you can come from, and Bliss has been excelling at that.
100% they have throughout all of this. And now, you go into this next one right here. Totoro just goes down so quickly. You lose out on one of the only ults you had in the book, and now you just gotta try to go in and find somebody. You need this punch so desperately. Unfortunately, nobody's sitting by. Power is able to push bodies off of the point and fought back. They tried, but unfortunately for them, Totoro is nowhere close, and Bliss Excelsior are gonna move on to the upper finals, guaranteed top 3 here. And unfortunately for EMC, they gotta go drop to that lower bracket and wait for the loser of the other matchup.
Yeah, very unfortunate for them. They weren't even to take their signature map win they tend to get on a lot of these teams. But again, I think Bliss Excelsior just came ready to go. They just I don't know, like it felt like they just knew what they wanted to play where. Like they had the ball comp prepared for Lijiang Tower, their first map choice, and it went really well for them. And then after that, they just played extremely well with the Ramattra comp with the new 25 HP buff, and they never looked back. Between Shadow and Percy, they just ran that lobby on the DPS line.
Yeah, I mean, that's been happening pretty much throughout the entirety of the series. That it worked out beautifully for them at the end of the day. I mean, I'm going to look back at some of these stats later on, but it was a phenomenal job on their part to make that happen, to constantly keep on the pressure and not letting EMC have any room to breathe in these fights. I mean, and you saw, again, they managed to win a pretty fair amount of their own battles, but they never got away with these fights without losing a lot of people in the process. Heck, you look back at that second point, it came down to Imperator, the lone Moira, standing there on the point at the very end to take that one away after a big investment. But regardless of that, you gotta hope you come from this and you can learn something from it. Go into that next matchup saying, hey, this is what we're doing good at, this is what we're doing bad at. Let's amplify this and push those goods as far as we possibly can.
Congratulations to Bliss Excelsior moving on to the winners finals. As you mentioned, guaranteed top 3 for EMC. Got a lot of work to do in the lowers bracket to try and work your way up, but I think the tools are there. He's going to have to bring it together, folks. We will be taking a quick break as we will be having an interview with one of the players from Bliss Excelsior, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Because nothing can compete with it. Loud so.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the conclusion of this EU-GM matchup here today in CGL. Of course, Bliss Excelsior take a 3-0 victory over EMC Mánagarmr, and they'll move on to those upper finals, where they'll be awaiting for their opponent, which still will be yet to be seen tomorrow. But for the time being, we have brought in one of the members of that winning roster here for a quick little interview. And hey, Ray, with everything that we saw today, I think there's no one better than Shadow to be here for this interview. And Shadow, welcome.
Thank you, guys. What's up?
Hey, nothing much. Watched a pretty good matchup on y'all's part. Y'all did a fantastic job, and obviously congratulations on the win here today. But obviously with that win here today, going into this game, obviously y'all go undefeated throughout the regular season. Y'all have a good run at things. You end up picking EMC to go up against. So how did you go about kind of treating this match? As in, like, do we go out running what we're normally going to do, or hey, let's test different things and see what works in the situation?
So, obviously, we have something called among our community called or our team, the BX comp, which is kind of unorthodox, I guess, with the LRE Wu Yang ball soldier tracer. But like, we've learned to play it together and figured out that it actually works really well. So we decided to run that for first map. But then also our tank that has been kind of missing for a while, Power, joined. So then we figured, since Percy is actually a DPS player from the start, but he usually gets to stick on the ball, we said, okay, well, let's swap me and Percy, me and Percy in for DPS instead of Arrow and me, and Power on tank, and it worked great. We haven't really been playing too much with him recently, but we still have the chemistry, I can tell.
Awesome. And then for you guys, obviously, we talked about it, undefeated in the regular season, but you guys did end up losing to Budget Approved in the mid-season grand finals. How do you feel about your chances coming into the playoffs, and are you ready to try and secure some revenge on them in the playoffs?
I mean, for sure. I do think Budget is a very good team, but since then, we've perfected our strategies. I also wasn't there for that finals, I'll just say that. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun playing against all these teams. Like, we're friends in the end. So yeah, it'll be fun if we get matched up against them.
In your opinion, obviously moving on to the winners finals, you will play the winner of DYS Budget Approved and Zero Recall. I'm assuming you guys are expecting Budget Approved. So if you guys face them in the winners finals, I mean, I guess with either of these teams, what do you think is like the big win condition for you guys in order to secure your spot in the grand finals?
I mean, I know some teams that we've scrimmed, especially Zero Recall, they've started to understand how to play against the PX comp a bit more. But I mean, I think that's our win condition in the end. Like, it's such a, as I said, unorthodox comp, and people don't really know how to play it. But it's just a comp that requires very little healing, and then just getting infinite poke from the backline. So, I mean, I think that's our win condition. And then if it were not to work, we have Power as a backup as well, if we need to switch things around.
Yeah, definitely makes a ton of sense. And everything with that being the case, everything that has happened to us getting to this point here, I mean, just for whether it's for you personally or whether it's as a team, what has kind of like been the big, I guess, whether the biggest takeaway or the biggest lesson for you so far this season?
I mean, it's definitely not to get too ahead of ourselves, I guess. Since we last played some of these teams in actual games, we've scrimmed them a few times. And as I said, since they've started to learn how to counter it, I guess, we haven't looked as dominant. But I think it shouldn't be a problem. Like, when we actually turn up the Jets for a CGL game like this, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Everyone was really hyped. We were confident, and yeah, that's what matters.
definitely got to agree with you there on that one. But before we end up letting you go, Shadow, just if there's anything else that you personally want to say, or if there's anybody that you want to shout out, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor to let you do so.
I mean, obviously, I want to shout out my team. Really great friends, all of them. Then shout out to Power for finally making a game. He's been very busy with college and some stuff, but he made it today for playoffs, and he's also promised to make future playoff matches. And also, I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow to see who we play against between Zero Recall and Budget. So that'll be exciting.
I'm looking forward to casting that tomorrow.
Yeah, almost the same squad is back tomorrow to do that game, so we will definitely be able to see with our own eyes.
I mean, just the best casters. So
apparently, we didn't say it. I mean, but obviously, with that being the case, Shadow, one more time, congratulations on the big win. Go enjoy that victory, and obviously, best of luck with the rest of the playoffs.
Thank you, guys. See you.
See you. There you have it right there, right? I mean, a team that has come in, has only lost one game throughout the entire season as a whole, but still is staying very grounded and saying, hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a job to do. We still have 2 more games that we got to win to close this one up.
Yeah, so once again, shout outs to Bliss Excelsior. They'll be moving on to winners finals. And as we mentioned later today, we got 2 more diamond games going on for you guys, as we will have EIG Reapers going up against Death Blossom and Wawa Gaming going up against Cuddle Puddle, both happening at 8 p.m. EST. You are not going to want to miss that. I believe it'll be top 1 on CGL 1 and Wawa versus Cuddle will be on CGL 2. So you do not want to miss out on that. And with that, we are going to wrap things up. Thank you, Hunter, for being on here with me. Thank you, Luau and Blizzard, for doing the production and the observing on this. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for you guys. And thank you all out there in Twitch chat. I've seen it very active for tuning into this match and watching. And we'll see you guys at the next broadcast.